Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be guiding you through how we can use the built-in automatic spot sets function within our SpotMap wholesale protein analysis software to quickly and easily break down our SpotMap into different groups based on the properties of the spots contained within, or broken down into quadrants or halves to determine different properties from our wholesale protein antibody. So why would you want to break down your larger spot set, your spot map, into smaller chunks? Well, it makes it easier to work with, or you might want to group your spots related to similar properties that they have. So for quadrant analysis, the idea is that although I may have 83% coverage overall for my spot map, that may be skewed towards wholesale proteins in a particular type. So of a like high molecular weight, low isoelectric point, I might have really good coverage there, but really poor coverage everywhere else within my blot, which would mean that using that antibody in something like an ELISA, I would be essentially enriching or only detecting wholesale proteins from a small section of the total wholesale proteins that could be in my sample. So you're essentially blinding yourself to different proteins of different properties, unless you do something like a quadrant analysis or do analysis all over. So that's one of the reasons we might want to do a quadrant analysis, to be able to say, yes, we've got even coverage across all of the all of the different proteins that could be in our sample, so we can use this antibody. It's quite broad, it's quite useful for us. So to do that, I would come down to, I've performed, again, this was very rough kind of spot detection, and I've just randomly selected absent or present spots within my spot map to get a coverage score to do this demo. So once I've got my spot map, I can come down to my spots sets section, sorry. And if I click on this gear here, you can see that we've got a lot of commonly used within industry pre-programmed spot sets. So clicking any of these is going to automatically generate the spot set that it describes. So I can create 4 quadrant sets very easily. High-low sets, left-right sets, detected spots, whether they're present on one, whether they're common, top 100 spots by volume or by area. So I can get a measure, a bead on my antibody's sensitivity towards what what are the top 100 proteins this antibody is going to identify. Are those, the majority of the wholesale proteins I want it to identify? Things like that. So you can break down your larger spot map into smaller chunks that will give you more information, it's more concentrated about the questions that you're trying to answer. So if I come across and just click on create 4 quadrant sets, you can see that now I've got these 4 groups: top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and they do exactly what it sounds like. If I click the name of them, I can select them and I can work with them from there. But if I click this tick box here, it shows me only the spots that are included in these sets. And you can see my coverage score changes as I change which one I'm looking at. So you can see here I can have, my original starting number was 83% overall, but I can have drastically different sensitivities for wholesale proteins in different areas of my Western blot, therefore my gel, therefore my wholesale proteins. So all of these images again can be sent to data access. You can report this kind of information very easily, and if you want to learn more about the high DPI export functions of SpotMap, you can. I've done a full video on that and how you would do that. But you can report all this information separately for quadrants. And like I say, you can move across and see exactly where your antibody has specificity for what kinds of proteins. Are they high molecular weight? Are they low molecular weight? Am I getting high isoelectric point, low isoelectric point? Things like that. I can rename these spot sets if I want to. So if I wanted to kind of delete these and do a top 100, for example, come across, do a top 100 based on volume. You can see there it's going to select all of those for me. So those are the 100 proteins that my antibody is most sensitive for example. And I can rename that as well. If that was information that I knew, I can add that to the experiment. So it also allows me to turn this off or on and see how that affects my coverage score, select them and delete them if I want to get rid of them. So that's spot sets in a nutshell. It allows you to work with your data much more cleanly, much more automatically, to be able to group your spots together and not have to do a load of manual left clicking and dragging and things like that. The final aspect I would like to show you about spot sets is the fact that you can make them completely freeform. So if I just click and drag and grab some spots here, I can add that to a set. I can create a new set, I can give it whatever name I want it to, and you can see I can turn them on or off. So it allows you to break down all of this data to be able to work with it if you so wish. If you want to be able to break it down into looking at one area at once where you've got special interest, or you're expecting a product to co-purify or be detected by your antibody, it just really gives you options of being able to group your data and work within the larger spot map, especially if you've got a really large format gel and you've got like 1,000 spots. You want to break that down into really getting into the sensitivity of your antibody. And of course, if you're doing bridging studies or you've defrosted the extra aliquot of antibody and you want to compare it to the antibody you've been using previously, doing things like quadrant analysis is a really good way of doing that. I might make a separate video on bridging assays because they are quite complex, but certainly quadrant analysis is a really good way of characterizing one antibody versus another to see that yes, you might have the same coverage, but where is that coverage located? Have you lost sensitivity for um, proteins that you were able to just about identify previously with your other antibody? Have you got a smaller dynamic range for your new antibody? Things like that that can be worked out using the SpotMap software. As ever, if you've got any feedback or you've got any comments on these videos, anything you would like to see, please let me know in the comments below, where you can get a free trial of the software and try it out in your lab with your data. Let me know how you get on.